There's a moment most people never talk about. When you're sitting in a room full of people, everyone is laughing, talking, having a good time, and you're laughing too. But somewhere inside, a part of you is watching the conversation, watching the energy shift, watching someone smile not quite reach their eyes, watching yourself watching. And nobody around you notices any of it because they're just living. But you can't do that. You never really could. You see too much. You feel too much. You notice things that most people walk right past. And the strangest part? Nobody taught you this. You didn't learn it from a book. You didn't choose it one morning. It just happened. And you've never fully understood why. But where does this come from? For some people, they were born this way. For others, it was built. Not by choice, by necessity. Picture a child who learned to read silence before they learned to read words, who listened to footsteps in the hallway just to know what kind of night it would be, who watched faces instead of listening to what the face was saying. That child didn't decide to become this aware. The world around them made awareness the only safe option. They felt tension in a room, the way you feel a drop in temperature. Before anyone said a word, before anything even happened. This wasn't intelligence. This was survival. And survival, when it becomes a habit, becomes a personality. And this is where it quietly gets more complicated. You're sitting at a dinner table. Everyone around you is talking about something light, something easy. Someone's telling a story. People are laughing. But you notice something. One person at that table went quiet about 5 minutes ago. Nobody else caught it. You noticed someone laughed just a little too quickly, like they were performing comfort instead of feeling it. You noticed the energy in the room shifted, somewhere between the appetizers and the main course, and not a single person around you felt it, except you. So you sit there, carrying information nobody asked you to carry, holding observations nobody else even has. And you smile, and you nod, and you keep going. Because what are you supposed to say? Hey, I noticed the room changed 3 minutes ago and nobody's talking about it? You already know how that sounds. So you stay quiet, and you keep watching. Psychologists call this hypervigilance, when the mind is always scanning, always processing, always one step ahead of the moment. But here's what nobody tells you. It doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like a television you can never turn off. Every channel playing in once, volume you can't lower, remote you can never find. You're not choosing to see this much. You simply never learned how not to. And this is where it gets interesting. You ever finish a completely normal day and feel absolutely exhausted, but have no idea why? No big argument happens, no crisis, no dramatic moment. Just a regular day. Work, maybe a few conversations, lunch, home. And yet, you feel like you ran 20 miles without leaving the room. Your body is tired, but it wasn't doing anything. This is the second pattern, and most people who experience it spend years thinking something is wrong with them. Nothing is wrong with you. Here's what's actually happening. You are always working. Not on the outside, not in any way anyone can see, but on the inside, the processing never stops. Every conversation you had today is getting reviewed right now. That one thing someone said at lunch, you're still turning it over. That moment your friend went a little quiet, you noticed it then, and you're still noticing it now. That look someone gave you that lasted half a second longer than normal, you caught it, you filed it, and some part of your brain is still working on what it meant. Research shows the brain burns more energy processing emotions than most physical activities. Now imagine doing that without choosing to every single hour of every single day. Stay with me here because this next part changes how you see everything. The people around you think you're fine. They look at you and see someone who's calm, who's handling it, who's okay. Because you look okay. Because you learned to look okay. You got very good at carrying the weight without showing it, because every time you showed it, things got more complicated. So you kept it inside, and you kept going, and you kept going, and you kept going. The real reason goes even deeper. Everyone thinks being emotionally aware means you handle emotions better. It actually means the opposite. You don't just feel things, you feel them, and then you think about feeling them, and then you wonder if what you felt was even the right thing to feel, and then you feel something about that. Someone says something small, something casual, something they forgot the moment it left their mouth. But you felt it land. You felt the exact weight of it. And then the loop started. Did they mean it that way? Were you overreacting? Maybe you're too sensitive. But what if you're not? What if it actually meant something? But what if you're making it bigger than it is? And now you feel guilty for even analyzing it. And then you analyze the guilt. This loop has no off switch. Psychologists call this emotional rumination, when the mind keeps returning to a feeling long after the moment has passed, like a song stuck in your head. Except it's not a song, it's a conversation from 3 days ago that nobody else remembers. But here's what nobody tells you about this part, and this is where it gets strange. You, the person who gets caught in this loop, are usually the most emotionally available person in any room. When a friend is hurting, you're already there. Before they finish the sentence, you understand. You hold their feelings carefully, like something fragile, like something that matters, because to you, it does. But when it comes to your own feelings, you don't know where to put them. You're so used to holding everyone else's that yours just sit there, unnamed, unplaced, quietly waiting. Nothing is wrong with you. You were never broken. You were just someone who learned other people's feelings felt safer to carry than your own. And that changes everything. Here's the quiet contradiction nobody talks about. You're never truly alone, and you're almost never truly not alone. You can be in the middle of a conversation, present, responding, engaged, and still feel a glass wall between you and everyone else. Not because you don't care, because you care more. You notice when a friendship is slowly fading before the other person even feels it. You sense distance before anyone names it. You feel when you're being tolerated instead of chosen. And this is where it gets strange. The awareness doesn't just show you what's real, it shows you what could go wrong. So sometimes you pull back first. You go quiet before the conversation turns cold. You leave before you can be left. Not because you don't want connection, because you understand loss before it even arrives. And that is one of the loneliest feelings in the world. Here's something nobody notices. You spend so much time understanding everyone else, you forgot to understand yourself. Who are you when you're not reading the room? What do you actually want? Not what the situation needed from you, but what you needed. This is the deepest pattern. The awareness that was built to protect you quietly became your entire identity. And now, even alone, you're still watching, still narrating, still processing. You sit in an empty room and still feel like an observer of your own life. Psychologists call this self-monitoring, when the awareness turns inward and becomes its own quiet loop. But here's what nobody tells you about this part. The fact that you can see yourself this clearly is not a curse. It is the beginning of what most people never find. It is the beginning of real self-knowledge, and that is rarer than you think. You came here feeling like something was wrong with you, like the way you experienced the world so deeply, so constantly, so exhaustingly was a flaw that needed fixing. It wasn't. Think about that crowded room, the one where everyone is laughing and talking and just living, and you're sitting there quietly watching. You always thought that meant you were outside of it, that you didn't belong. But that's not what it meant. It meant you were seeing it from a different angle. And that angle, that awareness, that depth is not your burden. It never was. You were never too much. You were never broken. You were never the problem. You were just awake in a world that taught most people to sleep through it. And depth, when you finally stop apologizing for it, when you finally stop shrinking it to make others comfortable, it becomes the most powerful thing you will ever own. You don't need to change. You need to understand. And you just did. If this felt familiar, the next video goes even deeper into the way you think,